Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening, and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live right here at We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio, located in the heart of the Deep South, way down south in Jackson, Mississippi. You know, Mississippi is my birthplace. And just like we have fish that swim back upstream to their place of birth, just although they know they're going to meet their demise, they still do it every year anyway. And so I come to Mississippi to take on a great fight. To take on a great fight that was fought by my father and by his father. So this evening, I don't have any guests. I wanted to take a moment and just share with the viewers out there a little bit about Mississippi history and a little bit about my lineage. And we're going to talk about how these things shape who you are, and they are the reasons why you do the things you do, whether you want to do them or not in many cases. So for me, you know, I want to go back just a bit. You know, my father was born in 1910, and his father was born in 1850. And that's about as far back as I can go when I do my family tree on my father's side, before I run into my great paternal European brothers. So when we do our family reunion, it's not a very large crowd. Now, when I do my family reunion on my mother's side, then it's a huge family. You see, because through the black woman, you can trace your roots all the way back to Africa, but not through the black male. And that is so very, very important. It's because the lineage really flows through, my seeds flow through the male. It really doesn't flow through the female, it flows through the males. That's why in the Bible, when you see that there was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they talk about the lineage in that way. They don't talk about it in a way that there was Mary, Martha, and Leola. And that's the way you're able to trace your seed. You see, from my grandfather to my father is a direct line. From my father to me, there's an uninterrupted direct line. From me to my son, there is a uninterrupted direct line. This has got nothing to do with sexism or anything like that. This is just reality. And sometimes we just have to talk about the reality of things. And so when you cut down the male child, who has been under tremendous attack from the very beginning of time, You have to go all the way back and understand Pharaoh's proclamation that he was going to kill every male child up to a certain age, 1 to 2 years old. And he didn't say that he was going to kill every female child. He said he was going to kill every male child. Because he knew, and we know, that when you cut down the male, that you eliminate the ability of the race to wage war. And that's why, as a punishment for Pharaoh's hard-headedness and his stubbornness, when God sent one plague after the next and he still would not change his mind, his heart, then God took the ultimate prize from him and took his son. Now, you have to go back and look at it another way. When Abraham was asked to bring a sacrifice to the altar for God, he tried to bring a lamb. But God said that would not be good enough. He had to offer up his firstborn son as a sacrifice just to prove to God that his love for God was real. And many of you know the story that then there was a ram in the bush to save the life of the young male. Now, where am I going with all this? I have to connect that history itself from the very beginning of time, when we wage war against our enemies, we wage war against our sons. It's critically important that we get that. And so in the African American community in the state of Mississippi, there were very few hangings of black women. There were very few murderers of black women during this tremendous turbulent time. And don't get me wrong, the fight to change things openly had to be led by black women. And so we have the great females of Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Fannie Lou Hamer, just wage war against the conditions that our folk were being treated. So our females are not afraid in any way. And they take the fight and lead the fight, especially now today, when it's hard to find the black male. Now, the black male has been oppressed and beat down to a point that he's absent from the community. Strategy from the beginning of time till today. Take down the head, take down the male, and the rest will fall in place. And that's why when J. Edgar Hoover put crack cocaine in the African American community after the Watts riots, that it was a specific attack against black males. That's why in policies that exist today from back then, even in public housing, when we say that a female will not be able to get any form of housing subsidy if a black male is living in the house with her. because we don't want to in any way build up and restore the position and the legacy of our black males. Now, it's just sad. And so, because of this severe attack on the male species, and because of the policies that took him out of the household, now you got to listen to me carefully. This is by design. This is not some accident. This is a strategic plan. When we took the black male out of the household, the plan was to destroy him. And we didn't realize the consequences of that action. So if you talk to legendary people like James Meredith, who has fought the great fight to liberate his people, he didn't really go into Ole Miss as a civil rights activist. That was not his platform. He went in there to restore black males to the position of leadership that had been taken away from them. And so these policies in Mississippi now, we have the highest rate and percentage of incarceration of black males of anywhere in the country, maybe in the entire world. Parchment is 90% African American males. And just think of all of the lost talent. Just think of the bright minds that were circumvented. Just think of the difference that could have made in our community had we had the full advantage of having access to the leadership that was killed and or locked up. Things would be different. Now, something happened here that nobody planned for. You see, I remember growing up as a young boy that my mother was the disciplinarian in the family. She disciplined the children, and she was good at that. She would tell me to go out there and bring her 2 willow switches. She said she wanted them to specifically to be willows so that she could braid them and she could have the flexibility with them, like a whip action that she used to tear my behind up with. She was the disciplinarian in the family. My father very seldom said anything. He watched all of the activities, but he didn't say much. So one day, my oldest brother decided that he didn't want to be whipped anymore. And he tried to break loose and run from my mother. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but at the end of the day, my mother told my father that my brother had kicked her. Now, I don't know if he kicked her or not. I do know what happened next. It was an unmerciful whipping of a young male for having allegedly kicked his wife. So while my father was not the disciplinarian, he was the guardian of the atmosphere. He said he established the overall rule of how boys were going to act. And he didn't have anything to say as long as you just took your whipping. He didn't have a word to say. But if you rose up in any way and was disrespectful in any way, he would let you know who was in charge. Now back to my point. When the male was taken out of the house, young African American boys no longer had any fear in them. There was no one in the house that they feared. A 12-year-old black male does not fear any woman. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of you are saying that my mom raised me and she did all of this and she did. But you didn't fear her. You respected her, but you did not fear her. That's different when a male is in the house. There is a real element of fear. And fear is an important thing that determines how we act as people. And so when the male was taken out of the house and there was no fear for the black child, male child, he began to act out. He began to hang out. He began to talk back. He began to play his music loud, and he became disrespectful. And for a while, we thought that was the essence of what was going to happen with black male children. But it didn't stop there. It escalated until he became violent. He became more like the TV shows that he was watching. He became involved in the great drug trafficking. He became involved with the great gangsters of modern time. He started to emulate the individuals that he saw that could produce fear in others. He pledged his allegiance to the dominant male that he saw. And the only one he saw was in the drug trafficking business or in some illicit activity. Now I know you're saying that he could have gone to church. Now, here's the interesting thing about church. It played a tremendous role in our development as black males. Now, not many black males believe in the Christian philosophy that you got to turn the other cheek. If someone slaps you, you're supposed to turn the other cheek. Now, I couldn't find many black males as growing up that subscribed to that theory or that philosophy. But there was an element of fear that the church put in place that tried to keep black males from getting into trouble and from becoming violent and disobedient. And what was that? It was the fear of going to hell. You see, the church said if you don't live right, and if you don't follow the 10 Commandments, the punishment is that you are going to hell. And you're going to burn there for eternity. That's a tremendous amount of fear that you're putting in a black child. And so the church had a stronghold over black children and black adults. Well, the young black male couldn't emulate the pastor because the pastor was simply talking about the penalties from disobeying God. The pastor didn't come as a powerful person himself that needed to be feared. He came carrying a different message. And so what we have here now is we have a black child, ages 9 to 18, that know no fathers, and have no male role models in their life. And they're angry, and they don't value life. Let me make this clear. They don't value their lives. And when you don't value your own life, everybody else around you does not matter. And so that is what we have that's going on in the African American community today, with all of the violence and the killings that are taking place in our community all over America. See, it's not isolated just to Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, we had 154 homicides last year. Yeah, we were listed as probably the most dangerous city in America, even challenging St. Louis for that dubious distinction. Yeah, we had all of that. But there's a reason for it, and the point I'm making is that it occurred all over the country. It wasn't isolated to an area, so you can't specifically say that this just happens in Jackson. You see, the policies that created these things were universal. So you have the same behavior traits that are taking place in Dallas, in Fort Worth, in Seattle, in Baltimore, in Pittsburgh, in Birmingham, in Memphis, and in Jackson. Black children are all acting the same. Because it was a universal policy. It created a universal condition at the same time. It's like we're all black at the same time. It's like we're all fatherless at the same time. And so we all act out the same way. Now, we understand the problem, but what then, Garrett? What are you talking about? What is the solution to the problem? Well, first we put the problem on the table and we understand and we broke it down. And it's nothing new. James Meredith said the number one fault that's keeping the black child in poverty is the breakdown of the family. He said that 25, 30 years ago. I would listen to him. It's the breakdown of the American family that's creating all the problems in our community. He knew that. And everybody else knew that. So we get to the solution. Now we're going to go to a commercial break. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some solutions. Before we go to commercial break, though, I'd like to just say that we're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, from We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. We're being seen in over 139 countries. We're on Facebook, on YouTube, on Roku TV, and our very own website, WeBelieveDigital.com. You can call us at 800-492-5186. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the share button. If you're watching us on the website, hit the donate button. Your support, your financial support, is tremendously important that allows us to continue the work that we do. Now, we'll be right back after these few commercial remarks.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his five senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
And we're back. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to send a shout out to the bishop over there that's written a great book of Meet Mason, Pastor Sherry Tate over there. And I want you to go to Amazon.com and I want you to buy that book. I want you to support this video program by supporting our sponsors. I want you to pay particular attention to sponsorships. I want you to make your dollars make some sense. I want you to understand that when you see sponsors that are supporting programs that don't have your best interests at heart, I want you to know that you ought not support those advertisers with your dollars. You ought to find a way to get your message out and to support the businesses that are supportive of the needs of your community. And so let's support and buy the book, Meet Mason. Go to Amazon.com and do that. It's tremendously important. Your kids need that. I'll remember today, the first time I got my primer. Well, I guess that's what we call it, pre-primer or something. But anyway, it said C spot run. Now, a lot of us had a little difficulty reading that C spot run. Some of us just got to C spot. Weren't able to connect those dots, but I have great fond memories of those days and those books, and they shaped my life. I even remember how we portrayed that Kirk Douglas as a child read the book as C spot run. It was C spot run. See him run. And he just got more and more pronounced and excited about how he pronounced C spot run until we knew from there that he was going to be a great actor. We knew from the very beginning that there was something different there. In our communities, in the African American community, we have not learned how to explore the talents of our children. If they are great readers, then we ought to buy them books. If God gave them a talent for singing, we ought to assist them in singing. Whatever God's talent is that's in that child, you have an opportunity to explore it and develop it. even when your children are acting crazy. I know that, back in the day, the word was that a child was to be be seen and not heard. I realized we didn't, as children, we were told to stay in the back room and don't come out here acting crazy and embarrassing me in front of my guests. I understood that. When the preacher came home after church to eat, I remember that he ate first, and children, we got to eat after they finished. I get all that. But in acting crazy, sometimes you have to wonder, is that a talent? I know. You got to wonder if that is a talent. Because I was saying something to someone about Snoop Dogg the other day, and I was saying, Snoop Dogg, I don't see him doing anything. He's real cool and slim, and you better tell somebody. That used to be my nickname or whatever he says, and he sits down and he drinks a good Coors beer and he relaxes on the beach. And that is so far from my reality of how I make my living until I didn't have a great appreciation for his talent. And then someone reminded me that he'd put all his children through school, that he'd been married for 30, 40 years to one black woman, that, he is an outstanding pillar in the community. That part I just could not see. So we don't see all of the talents of people. I don't think it's that we see what we want to see. I just think we see what we know how to see. And so I could have been a great comedian, probably. But my mother told me to sit down and shut up. You don't tell no jokes. Sit down and shut up. And she even said something to me one day that was stuck in my mind. She said, if you don't say anything, nobody will think you stupid. I said, yeah, they may not. I said, but they may think I'm deaf and dumb. She didn't like that. So that earned me a backhand, and I went on off. So my point is that we have to develop the talents that are in our children. We do that in many ways by supporting our sponsors. That's all I'm saying. Meet Mason, a wonderful book. I got to send a shout out to New South Development and Training that held a workshop down in Port Gibson, Mississippi today. Deidre Perry put on a workshop that was well attended down in Port Gibson, Mississippi today, talking about the advantages of farming. The advantages of farming. And a beautiful flyer and the work that we do down there, working with farmers, telling them the benefits of nutrients and how it increases production in various crops, how it fights off nematodes, how it eliminates the harmful effects of fertilizer, which runs off into our waterways and in our streams and contaminates and pollutes everything, and how we're developing and extracting nutrients from the natural waste of farmlands to be used in a beneficial way in crops. So New South Development Training, Deidre Perry today down at Port Gibson. I want to send a shout out to you. You're doing a magnificent and wonderful job. We realize that the old folk, when we grew up, I used to wonder how they were able to survive in an area where there was no Monsanto, there was no 13 by 13 by 13. How were they able to survive in an area where there were no freezers? You couldn't run to the freezer and get anything out of it. How they were able to have gardens and things of that nature. And they didn't have any of the things and tools that we have here today. But they knew and they understood that God, in his infinite wisdom, created an ecosystem that will sustain mankind forever. You didn't have to add one thing to it to sustain yourself. Think about that. We didn't have to add one thing to it. When he finished creating the earth, it was done. It didn't need any help from anybody to sustain itself. A magnificent, a marvelous ecology. Everything that you need, it was prepared for you. And so we got away from that. We got smart. And as we get smarter and smarter, we run into more and more problems. Yeah, the convenience of technology really makes the day, but we get into problems. And so I would say to my father, I would say they have just landed on the moon. And he said, I don't believe that. Nobody is walking on no moon. And we ought not be walking on the moon. I said, well, I mean, that's your opinion. And I had to remind him that he had once told me about the first locomotives. When they were trying to get that big engine to start, he said, group of men was watching the engineers work on the engine, and they said, you'll never get that thing started. And they worked on it for years and years, and finally one day they got it to start, and they looked at the group and said, what do you think now? He said, well, you're never gonna stop it. And so we've had those kinds of incidents that we've all been a part of. But we got smarter, we made it run, we learned how to stop it. But now we're facing some issues that may be the results of our brilliance. Well, what are you talking about? Well, you know, global warming is a real thing. The rise in sea levels on our coastline properties are in trouble. The holes in the ozone areas in the atmosphere is real. It's warmer and hotter than we've ever seen it before. Hurricanes are becoming more and more violent. This year alone, we've had more named hurricanes than we've had at this rapid and this early in the season in a long, long time. And my heart and my prayers go out to all of the citizens in Florida. My God, that devastation that I saw on TV was just heart-wrenching. And so our brilliance creates some different challenges for us, and ones that we're going to have to deal with for a long time. And many think that we better find ways to correct some of the things that are creating these conditions. And so there's a tremendous amount of conversation about going green, restoring the ecology by planting more trees, by eliminating all of this pollution from these automobiles. You know, when I lived in Los Angeles, California, my eyes just burned in 1975. I could not see some days for the dense fog. I didn't know that it would be harming the atmosphere, creating holes in the ozone. I didn't know that. I wasn't that smart. But I knew that I had to leave there because I was going to return to Mississippi, where the air was just a little bit cleaner and the grass was just a little bit greener. I didn't really see any grass when I was in Los Angeles. I don't recall that. And so, as we get smarter, we create greater problems for ourselves. Just keep getting smart. I'm not saying that. We got to keep getting as smart as we can, but we got to be aware of our boundaries. We got to be aware that we have to treat one another right. We have to treat the earth right. We can't have all of this plastic that won't break down, can't be destroyed, can't put it at the bottom of the ocean. We can't have that. There will be a price to pay for it. And so, enough of that. Let me get back to where I was going with the African American male condition. You see, I bring this up because we got to fix it. Now, there's a great deal of force and oppression on black folk throughout this country. Now, Martin Luther King got gunned down because he got involved in the sanitation workers' strike for decent wage. And so he got murdered because of his movement into the economics of things. And economics of things is the way that you control, who survives and who perishes. Because when you control the economy, see, you think you determine where you're going to eat tomorrow. You'll have great discussions about, well, are we going to go out to eat to the steakhouse? Or maybe we'll go to the fish house. Or maybe we want seafood. Or I'm a vegetarian. Maybe we'll just go out and get some Mediterranean food. Yeah, you are making those kinds of decisions, but you're not aware of the fact that someone else is making the decision as whether you would eat at all. And so, because whoever controls the economy controls whether you will eat, not where you will eat, but whether you will eat or not. Well, what are you talking about? How can that be? Well, policies control the economy. And so when you see the destruction of small farmers, small businesses, both black and white, when you see the destructions of that industry, you begin to see food deserts pop up in your communities. Jackson, Mississippi is a food desert. There are places in South Jackson where you cannot get food after 8 o'clock at night. And there are only 1 or 2 places that you can get a sit-down meal in South Jackson at any time during the day. I only know of 2 restaurants where you could actually go and sit down in Jackson and have a meal in a city with a population of over 100,000 in South Jackson. 2 restaurants. Both of those are Caucasians-owned properties. So we are in trouble and we don't recognize it. We think we're making decisions about our lives, and we're not. We're making decisions under the parameters that you are allowed to. And how is this evident then? Okay. African American businesses in the state of Mississippi get less than 1% of the contracts for goods and services in the entire state of Mississippi, and we're 40% of the population. Wow. What do you think that means? How do you think that happens? Did it happen by circumstance? Did it happen by chance? Or was it orchestrated? Was it a part of the plan to continue the strategies that were formerly put in place during the days of slavery and civil rights struggles? The policies that were put there, the same policy that took the male out of the house is the same policy makers that took the food out of the community, same policy makers that put the drugs in the community at the same time. We took the food out, we put the drugs in, we increased the incarceration rate. You got to get that. That didn't happen by chance. It was universal in the way it was happening. I mean, it happened in Baltimore as it happened in Jackson. Black males and black females and black businesses, period, get less than 1% of the contracts for goods and services. And we're 40% of the state's population by design. Now we're getting ready to go to a station break. This show is being brought to you by Earth Blend Coffee, a great cup of coffee. Go to the website, earthblendcoffee.co, and order some coffee. It's being brought to you by many sponsors that believe in the work that we're doing. We're being seen all over the world, in 139 countries. We've been seen on Facebook, on YouTube, Roku TV, and our very own website, WeBelieveDigital.com. We're going to be right back for the last segment of our show this evening, so stay tuned, and we'll be back after this commercial.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfill concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
And we're back live. You're watching Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting from right here in Jackson, Mississippi at the We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. We're being seen in over 139 countries. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Roku TV, and our very own website, WeBelieveDigital.com. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want you to share with all of your friends. If you're watching us on the website, we want you to hit the donate button and send us some financial assistance and contribution that allows us to continue doing this great work. You know, when you tell the truth the way that we do, when we take on the difficult, then it's difficult for sponsors to support you. Because it's not that they don't believe in what you're saying. They know that what we're saying needs to be said, but they have to protect their brand. And so they say, we believe digital, Socrates Garrett, we want you to continue this great work that you're doing, but I can't trust my brand. I can't expose my brand because people may boycott my business. I may lose some customers. So it's better for me just to silently and quietly support you as opposed to overt and direct advertising. And to that I say this. It was Martin Luther King when he wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail, when he said, it's not the vicious, hateful activities of the Klan that is our problem. It's the appalling silence of the moral good folk in our society. You see, you have to take a stand. I realize how hard that is because I've paid a tremendous price to be a free Negro. It doesn't come easy. You pick up all of the enemies of your, let me say it to you this way. One said that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so people will tag on with other people who actually believe in the work that you do, but they can't support it. So we're appealing and we're reaching out to all of the wonderful foundations out there that support a lot of things. We watch all of the support that MPB, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, gets. We understand that. We understand the important role of the Kellogg Foundation and the tremendous work that they do throughout this country. We understand the great work of Working Together Jackson and all that they do. We understand the great work of Mission Mississippi and all that they do. But your presence over here is conspicuously absent. I will see advertisement and programs from organizations that really are devoted to social justice, but their advertisement is on the stations that are controlled by the folk that they're fighting against. It's kind of like the city of Jackson and black cities across this country that spend the taxpayers' dollars with European companies that don't reside in the city that pays the taxes. It's kind of like we fuel the oppressor in every way. We send supplies, we send ammunition, we send soldiers, we send everything that our oppressor needs in order to keep us oppressed. We don't shop in Jackson, Mississippi. You know, Jackson, Mississippi is a great city with a population of over 150,000 people here. But you know, there are probably less than 3 African-American owned restaurants in this city. So if you come to Jackson, Mississippi, and someone tells you that they want to go to African-American owned food establishment, where would you take them? I'm not going to answer that, but it's a question. They said they want to go to an African-American owned restaurant in Jackson, Mississippi. Where would you take them? If they said that I want to buy a car from a dealership that is owned by African Americans in the state of Mississippi, which has 40% of its population being African American, what dealership would you take them to? Tell me. If you are a mother, expecting mother, and you want your baby delivered by an African-American doctor in a private firm, or where would you go? You see, the economy has been extracted from us all across the country. You know, now my bishop, Ronnie Crudup, the senior bishop of New Horizon Church International, a great man, a warrior, a man that believes in social justice, a man who believes in the life lessons and the teaching of Christianity and believes in the Bible firmly. He stands on that. A man that's involved with doing good all over this world, and asked me if I wanted to go with him to Israel just last week. You see, we can't find the African American economy. Of all of these magnificent churches that we have in Jackson, Mississippi, tell me who is the African American contractor that's building these churches? Who? We have faced the most devastating crisis in our city in a long time. I say it's the second most devastating crisis in our city. We lost our water, drinking water, and everybody all over the world is calling every day. How are you doing down there in Jackson? Do you have any water? Have you gotten things restored? We're listening to the remarks of the governor. He seems to not care about the black city of Jackson. Everybody is calling. The national news is calling every day, talking about the crisis in Jackson. The head of the EPA is in town. The head of the Corps of Engineers is in town. The congressman is in town. Senator Roger Wicker said we're sending $60 million. Like $60 million is going to do anything. Senator Hyde Smith says we're sending $20 million to help with the Jackson problem. Kroger's is sending water. Walmart is sending water. Churches from all over the world are sending water because Jackson has a crisis. Now, think about this. Just bear with me a moment. When I tell you that Jackson black folk get less than 1% of the contracts for goods and services from the state of Mississippi, we don't see that as a crisis. There's nobody talking about it on the national news. There are no churches from Atlanta. I think the African American Episcopal Church that sent water into Jackson last month. But there are no churches talking about the economic deprivation that's going on in Jackson, and why is 30% of its population living below the poverty line, and why is it that African Americans are living in the most unhealthy state in the country? Why is it that our schools are under tremendous trouble and our government is sending money to private institutions and taking it away from public schools? And why is it that Mississippi remains last in every category? That's what a crisis is. We were without running water for 3 weeks, and everybody was so concerned about it. Well, we appreciate that. But when I grew up, we didn't have any running water. We were all healthy. That God provided for us. We didn't have running water. There were no running water in the country up in Farm Haven, Mississippi. We were fine. I was healthy. So, yeah, it was a crisis. But there are ways to deal with that. I used to haul water on a sled in 55-gallon drums, and you learn how to haul water with a mule on a sled without wasting all that water before you get back where you were going over rough roads. You learn how to do that. But you had great incentive. If you came back there with an empty barrel, you were going to get beat down. So you learn how to do it. You learn how to fill the drum up with water, and then put another 5-gallon bucket of water, fill it up, and put it over in the middle of the drum in the buoyancy, and it kept the water in the drum. You learn things. We survive. If we take the grocery stores, which we have done, out of the black communities, our children don't know how to survive. They have no idea what a garden is. They have no idea how to feed themselves. They have no idea how to even fish. And they certainly don't know how to clean one. They certainly don't want to learn. And so, yeah, we got crisis going on in Jackson. But we had a bigger crisis. We had a 3-week crisis in the water. We got a 100-year crisis. This is going on every day in the lives of black folk in Jackson, Mississippi, and nobody says a word. We're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. My granddaddy had over 500 acres of land. My grandson will not have 1 acre of land. Think about that. What happened? We got running water? Is that what happened? We got comfortable. We got accustomed to someone else taking care of us. So we forgot how to take care of ourselves. I'm coming to the end of this show for this evening. But black folk all over this world, you better wake up. You better learn how to sustain yourselves. You better learn how to control your economy. Keep your dollars in your community. Build strong black business class. Everywhere you go is tremendously important. Otherwise, you're going to be in a situation where you are all the recipients of the crumbs that will be provided for you. And when there are crumbs that you're fighting over, you will become uglier and uglier and more violent and dangerous, and your murder rates will skyrocket, your incarceration rates will skyrocket, and your life expectancies will decrease. All because you didn't control your economy. And nobody in the field of education is talking about the economy and how we must control it for our own survival. Now, to our sponsors out there, we need your help. Go to our website, WeBelieveDigital.com, and hit the donate button. Just send us $1. Just a token to say that, I don't have much, but I believe in what you're doing, and we would love to see you go forward. All of you, well, I don't care where you are. If you're in Egypt and you're watching this program, go to our website, WeBelieveDigital.com, hit the donate button. Let us know. You're on Facebook, send stars. If you want your own podcast show, reach out to us at 800-492-5186. Let's show that we can support one another. Let's show that we understand the importance of the things that I've been talking about here this evening. Now it's Friday. I hope everyone out there has a great weekend. My prayers go out to Floridians. As a young man, by now I would already have been on your banks, working and supporting in the cleanup and removal of debris. But I'm not going this time. It's time for someone else to step up and try and make a difference. It's tremendously important that we get involved in the economy and the rebuilding of Jackson's water plant, in the rebuilding of Florida, in the rebuilding of the state of Mississippi, in the rebuilding of America. African Americans have got to be at the forefront, and they got to take their rightful place. And they have to be provided opportunities to participate in the mainstream and develop a strong economy for themselves. This has been Socrates Garrett Live. Until we meet again, stay safe and good night. Good evening. I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African American owned broadcasting studio. WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services, and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe